Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Awesome show for you today. Steve Kim will be here in about 30 minutes. Ock Nation and Frank DePope be Frank. Frank, remember Frank from we're going to have another As the WNBA Turns panel with Ock Nation and Frank. Looking forward to that at the back end of the show. On the Harmony channel, Shamika Michelle and Kevin Donahue will join me. We'll talk about the big feud going on between Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. This is getting rather interesting, how much conversation and heat there is around Nick Fuentes. He's now into it with Candace Owens, them going back and forth. We'll talk about that on the Harmony channel. But we'll start today with, I'm going to tie a couple things together. Shedeur Sanders, I'm going to tie to the Cincinnati Jazz Fest brawl. And what has Shedeur got to do with that? Oh, you're reaching. Give me a second. I'll explain. And so that's where we're going to start the show. Eventually, we'll talk about Texas being ranked number one. Colin Cowherd taking a shot at Jalen Hurts, comparing him to Spice Girls, saying that, you know, there are superstar quarterbacks that are Taylor Swift, and then there are Spice Girls. That's a spicy take by Cowherd, intended to trigger, and it's worked. UFC is talking about fighting at the White House. We'll do that as well. Good idea, bad idea. What do we think of that? So anyway, I want you to buckle up because I'm going to tie these two things together: Cincinnati Jazz Fest brawl and Shedeur Sanders. And I'm sure you Shedeur groupies are on your edge of your seat. Whitlock's lost his mind. What's he doing? Give me a second. I'm going to do that. Before I do any of that, though, I want to thank our lovely, wonderful, awesome, God-fearing sponsors at PreBorn. Holy cow, PreBorn and this show have been connected for nearly 3 years now, and it's been an amazing 3 years. It's been a part, we've made it a part of our mission at Fearless for us men to support the worldview, the biblical view that life begins at conception, and we are in a desperate effort, an attempt to save as many babies' lives as we possibly can. And we do that through supporting PreBorn and their efforts to help women, expectant mothers that are considering abortion, help them realize, no, that's a life inside. That's not a clump of cells. That's not a fetus. That's a gift from God, a baby inside your womb. And they do that by providing the woman an ultrasound and introducing that baby's heartbeat and a visual image of that baby to the mother while the baby's in the womb. And now that woman is more than twice as likely to choose life. And that's where PreBorn steps in, steps up, and supports that mother and child for up to 2 years. They do that because we give our money. We donate to PreBorn, whether it be $28, which pays for one ultrasound, $280, which pays for 10 ultrasounds, whatever it is you can afford to give. I give on a monthly basis, and then sometimes just on a random, hey, I want to feel good about myself, I give more. I'm just telling you, it is a selfish deal. I want to feel better about myself. I want to do something that tells God that I respect innocent life, that I love innocent life, that I am being obedient to him. And one of the ways I choose to do that is by giving to PreBorn. You can do the exact same thing. You can put a smile on a baby's face. You can put a smile on God's face. You can put a smile on your own face. There's no downside, nothing bad. Only positive things happen when you donate to PreBorn. 2 ways to give: pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say the keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/fearless. preborn.com/fearless. You know what? I want to feel better about myself today. Not that I feel bad, because I actually feel really good. I'm going to give a little bit more to PreBorn. I'm going to give $250 just right now to PreBorn. Just trying to put my money where my mouth is. I want you guys to, maybe it's only $25, but match me right now as I give to PreBorn. I've already given monthly, so I'm hitting the give once deal. Cover processing fees. Yep, here we go. So I'm going to do, and I'm sorry, I just got to do it. I'm sorry for making you wait on the show, because I do have one other thing that I'm probably going to get into before we start today. It's just, I want to tell you why I want to give today, or what's on my heart and what's on my mind. I'm so thankful for what God has given to me, bestowed upon me, and it's just awesome. And so I want to thank God by giving to PreBorn. So that's what I'm doing right now. United States. Boy, these guys put me through a lot of trouble. No, I'm sorry. No, they don't. This isn't hard. I don't want to be complaining while I'm giving to. Look, I'm killing the beginning of the show, but I got to do this, guys. I have to do this. It's necessary. Done. Boom. Just donated $259.38. There was a processing fee. Yeah. They're asking, how did I hear this is required? Oh, yeah. Jason Whitlock. Let me go to, I'm really bothering you guys today. I'm sorry. Boom. Now I just gave $259.38. There was a $9.38 processing fee. One of the reasons why I'm so thankful and so moved today is I've been a little bit emotional this morning, just keeping it real with you. And be patient with me. I'm about to get to Cincinnati and Shedeur Sanders. But there's 2 young people that I invested in my younger days. One is my cousin, Josh Torrance. Josh, when I was living in Kansas City, Josh was living in Indianapolis, and he got into some trouble. He was 14 years old, I believe, at the time. He got into some trouble. He was living, he was on a path for destruction. And so I made Josh an offer he couldn't refuse. I said, hey, man, come out here in Kansas City. Let's get you away from the crowd you're running with. Come out here and live with me in Kansas City, and let's see if we can get you on the right path. And he did that for 2 years. And then after 2 years, he thought I was too hard on him. Some other family members interfered and got in his ear, talked him into coming back to Indianapolis. Josh immediately got into trouble and eventually got into even more trouble back in Indianapolis, just keeping it real. He pistol whipped some dude in his front yard and, had to get set down. This is years ago. And last night, and obviously Josh and I are still very close. He's, when I say cousin, much more to me than that as a cousin. I helped raise him. I was involved with him since birth. He sends me an evite, an invitation last night to his wedding. And he's married a beautiful young lady named Ebony. And I've known Ebony for a long time. They've dated for a long time. They've lived together for a long time. But it's always been my hope, dream, aspiration for Josh to get married to Ebony. And they're doing that in September. And it's got me emotional because I think 3 days before Josh gets married to Ebony, you guys have seen Dante Love on this show with me. He came on the show with my brother and my sister, and Dante came on this show. Dante was a football wide receiver at Ball State, headed to the National Football League, and in 2008, in a game against Indiana University, Dante broke his neck in that game. And I was at that game, went to the hospital with Brady Hoke, our head coach at the time, and I'd known Dante throughout his playing career at Ball State, but this event that evening drew me even closer to Dante. He's in a hospital bed, broken neck, doesn't know if he's going to walk again. Football dreams. This guy was going to be a second, third round NFL draft pick. He was one of the nation's leading receivers, super talented. We had a quarterback, Nate Davis, that got drafted in the NFL. We had like 6, 7 guys on that team that played in the NFL in some capacity. Dante was the best of that bunch. His family thought Dante was headed to the NFL. And so Dante's doesn't know what he's going to do. Broken neck, football career over. And I promised Dante that night that I would be with him for the rest of his life and for his transition into a life without football. Dante eventually able to walk again. If you met him, you'd think, oh, hey, nothing happened to him, but he broke his neck. He could never play sports again. And me and Dante went through some difficult times, really difficult times where, I'm helping him out. I'm helping him transition in life, and he's taking advantage of the situation. But I stuck with Dante, and Dante stuck with me. And one of the greatest things that happened between Dante and I is Dante was dating a young woman named Esther that she was really, really, really into Dante. She ends up getting pregnant, and they have a baby, Dante Jr. And Dante would come to me and be like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. I don't know if I want to be with Esther. And I was like, brother, look, that girl loves you. Do not in any way blow this. Let me tell you what happens when God sends you the right woman and you decline. It's a nightmare scenario. I've lived it. And I've lived it twice. It's a nightmare. Don't make the mistake that I made. This is years ago that I'm counseling him and trying to let him not make the kind of mistakes that I made in my youth out of ignorance. And Dante and Esther are getting married in September. And I got that invitation yesterday, and it broke me down emotionally. In terms of just the feeling of like, as it relates to Josh and Dante, you have those moments where you think like, man, was all this effort a waste of time? Did I waste my time? Did all the things that I said and poured into these guys, did it go in one ear and out the other? And I can say for both of them, Josh has a great job. Josh is marrying a great woman. Dante has a great job. Dante's soon-to-be wife has a great job. They've been living together for years. They have 3 kids. And I feel like today I can sit here and say, mission accomplished. I did something good. I helped 2 young people not make the mistakes that I made and have been with them and advised them and been a friend to them and been a mentor to them. And now they are doing the biblical holy thing of entering into marriage. I feel good, and I feel like I owe God for the opportunity to be involved with these 2 guys and to have them reach this part of their life journey in a successful way, finding 2 women that absolutely love them, support them, good mothers, good wives to them. I've passed on my wisdom. I've prevented 2 young guys from being the kind of idiot that I was. So I feel good today, and I wanted to feel better, and I wanted to thank God. And so I've given extra money this month to PreBorn, and I invite you to do the same. Now, if you wonder why this whole thing has got me emotional. And I know how you fathers feel a little bit. You know, I put in a handful of years of work, of intense work. You guys are out there doing it every single day, fighting that battle. Don't give up. Don't give up. The rewards, I'm experiencing just a little bit of the rewards. I helped 2 young people. Anyway, let me get to today's show. Period. New sentence, new paragraph, new chapter. This theme today, as it relates to Cincinnati and Hadley, just because I'm jumping all around, but tell everybody they're going to have to be patient with me. I've just thrown us off schedule by going there, but I wanted to go there. I've just thrown us off schedule to let people know. Cincinnati, Shedeur Sanders. The humble lie is the theme of the first part of this show. Black people, instead of being served a slice of humble pie, we lean into the humble lie. And we pretend that we believe in humility. We pretend like we have some sort of biblical understanding of the world and of the importance of humility. And we participate in great numbers, a large percentage of us, in the humble lie. We value arrogance, confidence, swagger. We think that is the key to life. Show it to me anywhere in the Bible where confidence, swagger, arrogance, any of that has any rewards or is even really discussed in the Bible. Or if it's discussed in a negative way. There are more than 80 references to the power and importance of humility in the Bible. And if you wonder why the data says like our kids, our culture, everything is headed in the toilet, is because we lie to ourselves about the importance of humility and we convince ourselves that arrogance, swagger, confidence, that's the key to life. And if we just affirm, and someone has rattled Shedeur Sanders' confidence. So they tried to humble Shedeur Sanders. That would be a good thing. If the NFL drafted Shedeur in the 5th round in an attempt to humble him, that would be a good thing. After yesterday's show, I want to read to you a tweet. It's very brief that was sent to me. I believe the guy's name is Eric Gurton. And I was critical of the overhype of Shedeur. And in some of that criticism, I criticized Shedeur Sanders. That's not it. I wanted there we go. There it is. Eric Gurton just wants me to say, just say you hate confidence in blacks and be done with it. This is what he tweeted to me after yesterday's show. Just say you hate confidence in blacks and be done with it. Eric, I'm going to grant your wish. I hate confidence and overconfidence in virtually all people. The power is actually in humility. And it's our lack of humility that is preventing us from moving successfully through life. It is our lack of humility that has our kids valuing gold chains, gold fronts, designer jeans, Air Jordans, all of this false bravado, false confidence, all of this attitude and carrying ourselves as if we own the world, as if we're the smartest, most righteous people on the planet. It's the humble lie that is killing us. I want to play for you Ryan Clark, one of these thought leaders that ESPN platforms, and he has his own podcast, The Pivot, and he starts babbling about Shedeur Sanders, and he's pretending as if humility has in any way visited Deion Sanders' child. Play Ryan Clark.
There's a difference in between being humble and being humbled. Like the world tried to humble Shedeur Sanders, the drafters and the scouts and the evaluators, but he just used it to be humble in the way he went about work, the composure, the poise, and the way that he's handled his situation, being the 4th quarterback throughout this, he's not ruffled any feathers. He's shown that he could be a leader. He's shown that he understands he has to earn it. He's told Deion, hey, you got to wait. And the people talking about whether or not this opportunity is a setup, they don't understand ball. There is no success without an opportunity. And there is no such thing as luck when they say preparation meets opportunity. But this man's been preparing for this moment his entire life. And think about the amount of Shedeur Sanders jerseys that have been sold. Think about the way people watch that game. Those are not Cleveland Browns fans. Those are Shedeur Sanders fans. And the owner, Jimmy Haslam, said, you know what? Andrew Berry made this pick. And if I'm Andrew Berry, I'm rubbing my hands like Birdman, right? Because we all knew who this man was. We all knew what he'd accomplished. We all knew what he was made of. And for him to go out there on a night that he wasn't supposed to be the starting quarterback, on a night where he hadn't gotten the reps with those people he'd be working with, and show out, showed exactly why he should have been drafted earlier. But this is what it is, man. Sometimes, man, you got to have a setback for the get back to be historic. And I believe that's what Shedeur Sanders showed us in his first night under center as a Cleveland Brown.
Everything Ryan Clark's saying there is 1,000% speculation. He knows nothing other than what Deion has told him about Shedeur's preparation. He hasn't been at practice. He knows nothing. He's just, well, Deion said this, and we're all going to present the narrative that Shedeur has been humble. And he's done nothing but show his leadership ability, except for those 2 times he's been pulled over for driving more than 100 miles per hour. Other than that, he's been perfect. This is the humble lie that we tell over and over and over and over again. We don't believe in humility. Because if we believed in humility, we would be sitting there thanking NFL draft people for humbling, for attempting to humble Shedeur Sanders. We would see that as a blessing. Anybody that tries to humble me or tries to humble anybody on this planet is actually doing a good thing. But people like to front that they have a biblical understanding. And we like to lie about that. Shedeur Sanders tanked his own draft status with his lack of humility. He was someone in need of being humbled. No different than Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders got away with not being humble because he was given so much God-given talent that he didn't have to, and he played a position where he didn't have to. But at that quarterback position, with the amount of talent that Shedeur has, humility is what will serve him best. And you don't care who's serving you the humility. If I was starving of thirst and the KKK came by with a bottle of water, I'm going to turn that down. That's the KKK. Their water isn't wet properly. No, I would take that water and make the best of it because I'm thirsty. You talk about someone in need of humility, it's Shedeur Sanders. You talk about a group of people, demographically, based on melanin, who have bought into a lie that humility is a bad thing and confidence and arrogance and swagger are good things. No one needs humility more than American black people. We reject it. Or well, if it's not coming from the right source, if someone doesn't announce that they love me and affirm everything about me, I get to reject anything that they offer me or anything that they do to me. I get to frame that as racism and something I get to object to. This is how I'm connecting it to Cincinnati. If taking the Cincinnati Jazz Festival brawl, if you want to take that and turn it into a race issue, if you want to take that Cincinnati Jazz brawl where a group of about a half dozen men jumped on a single white man, sucker punched him, and then beat a woman, bruised her eye, beat her up bad, knocked her unconscious, and you want to turn that into a statement about race, and I got to cape up and step up for black people, that's your choice. But if anybody watched this video, if anybody sees men and women kicking a man while he's down, if anybody sees a picture of a woman beaten, knocked out, and says, hey, I'm going to organize a press conference at a church in Cincinnati, and black leaders are going to complain, hey, why isn't this white man that's getting kicked in the head, why hasn't he been charged? That's a group of people in need of some humility. If you see that event as racial, and your reaction isn't like, man, I got to be humble here. But your reaction is, no, I'm going on the offensive. The white man that pushed someone or slapped someone in the face, he must be charged. That's what happened yesterday in Cincinnati. Black leaders, some dude named Scotty that's on the city council held a meeting at a church, New Presbyterian, I can't remember the name of the church, but we do have the clips. They held a press conference demanding that the white man that got his brains beat in, who's already received street justice for his slap of a man, they're now saying there must be criminal justice on top of that. Anybody that could see that white woman knocked out, see her bruised and battered face and say, we got to put this white man on charges. Who has that reaction? People living the humble lie have that reaction. People with no accountability have that reaction. People with no self-awareness have that reaction. Let's watch the city council people. Just play these. This is about 3.5, 4 minutes worth of clips. Play SOT 2, 3, and 4 back to back to back. Thank you.
Instead of walking away, he walks back up and slaps a black man. Now, for those who don't understand that, remember, you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't slap a black man in the face. I'm assuming that's when the riot starts. They're charged with inciting a riot. Well, the riot doesn't happen until after the slap. So what incited and who incited the riot? If the riot is because of the slap, who incited the riot? And why are the only people charged, again I'll say it, are the ones who look like me?
This man standing in a church. Don't pull on Superman's cape. Everybody knows you don't slap a black man in the face. Why is he racializing this? It's disrespectful to slap anyone, regardless of color, in the face. Is he saying it's okay if a black person slaps a black person in the face? It's okay. If a black gang member shoots a black man in the face, it's okay. If a black gang member accidentally shoots some young black child, it's okay. But everybody knows that you don't slap a black man in the face, I guess, unless you're black. He's in a church talking about common street thugs. And I'll include the white guy in that because he was, seemed to be trying to fight with someone. But he's in a church talking about this group of people as if they're special and holy cow, don't tug on Superman's cape. Because he's justifying to the people in that audience and other black people in Cincinnati that if you get slapped in the face by a white person, a gang of you all should jump on that man and beat up the woman. This is inside of a church. This is insanity. This is a lack of humility. Let's continue with the next clip.
Since that press conference, we have been asking why the individual who slapped the black person that ignited what has been identified as aggravated rioting wasn't under arrest. One statement made by Chief Fiji indicated, and this was at the press conference, that the person who was slapped had hired a lawyer and wasn't talking to the police. If that was true, it would explain why the white male hasn't been charged with that specific assault. However, the black individual who was slapped is not needed for the charges of aggravated rioting or inciting to riot. The video speaks for itself. The method by which this situation has been handled raises serious questions as to whether there's bias involved in the investigation. It also brings into question the possibility of a lack of integrity and whether there's something else to hide. The black community of this city demands to be respected.
I became both a lawyer and a judge in part due to the inequities of treatment that I witnessed in the criminal justice system. I watched African American youth and adults be improperly charged, overcharged, and over-prosecuted, while Caucasian individuals were either never prosecuted undercharged, or under-prosecuted. Unfortunately, in Cincinnati, Hamilton County, Ohio, after 30 years in the legal profession, this practice has not changed. Police and prosecutors have great latitude in how they charge cases. The white guy clearly engaged in conduct designed to urge or incite 6 other people to commit violence under circumstances that created a clear and present danger that an offense of violence would be committed, and in fact was committed, when it resulted in the commission of violence offenses allegedly by 6 others.
Slapping, shoving one black man that you're squared up looking face to face was intended to incite 6 others into jumping on this guy, sucker punching this guy, kicking him when he's down, knocking out a woman, battering and bruising her face. Not an ounce of humility, not an ounce of accountability. This culture is sick. It's sick. It's unbiblical. It's detached from a biblical point of view. And maybe I'm just unaware. But I couldn't. Have we ever seen? I'll give you the example, and I could be wrong. But let's take the Rodney King beating. And I say this with all sincerity and all humility. My memory's fuzzy. Did white people hold press conferences for the police officers that beat up Rodney King? Was there a group of white people out defending what happened to Rodney King? And trust me, they could have made the argument. If Rodney King had just pulled over and slowed down and not let him on he wouldn't have got beat up. If he incited or provoked the cops to do, I don't remember that. Now, I do remember a jury did not convict those police officers, and that set off the Rodney King riots. But most people, black, white, whatever, saw the Rodney King thing for what it was. Rodney King was an idiot. The police overreacted. The police deserved to be charged. The police were out of line here. There was no one defending them other than a lawyer that was paid, or a group of lawyers that was paid to. We get that. But running out as the black community and black community leaders, and it's our job to defend 6 idiots who acted like animals. This is embarrassing. It's unbiblical. But somebody correct, if there's some example out there that I'm unaware of, because it's no different. This is Carmelo Anthony thinking all over again. Let's start a give, send, go for these guys in Cincinnati. Because, we believe in don't start none, won't be none. And we want that written into the Constitution, that as black people, if one black person gets shoved in a one-on-one confrontation, we have a right as a group of black people, as this idiot lawyer is explaining, this unbiblical lawyer is explaining, we have a right to defend ourselves. If someone pushes Luke right now in this studio, Luke's, 6'1", 200 pounds, whatever. I'm initially going, Luke, handle that. If it gets out of hand, I'll jump in. I'm not part of some group deal where, Luke got shoved, He's a man. I'm going to let him try to defend, particularly if he's squared off with another man. I'm going to let him handle that. If it gets out of hand, I'm going to pull the guy off and try to end it. But stomping someone, sucker punching a woman, knocking her out, jumping on her, it's unjustifiable. It's embarrassing, but there's so little humility, so little self-awareness, so little rational thought in what has been defined as black culture. That's what, run from it. I don't want to be associated with it. You don't want to be associated with it. This is what racial idolatry, whether this is what black pride, white pride, Jewish pride, pride, this is what it leads to, tribalism and insanity and chaos. You should have one identity, your identity in Christ. Live up to those standards. You will make a fool of yourself trying to live up to some sort of black, white, Jewish, Asian, brown, yellow, any of these identities that you've been given that you think are so valuable, and holding press conferences inside a church defending your blackness will make a fool out of you. Same kind of fool that Shedeur Sanders and the worship of Shedeur Sanders, the worship of Deion Sanders, it's making a fool out of you. Ryan Clark knows football, but because he worships Deion Sanders and because he somehow made it up in his mind that Shedeur Sanders represents some form of blackness that must be defended, Ryan Clark isn't man enough to properly mentor or advise Shedeur Sanders or any of these young black dudes. Because he's always going to give them the excuse, well, it's racism, and they just don't like you because of this or that. He'll never say, hey, man, they don't like your behavior. Take the damn hat off, answer people's questions respectfully, prepare for the combine and the interview process, and you would have got drafted in the first or second round. No accountability. So, anyway, I connected those dots. There's a culture problem. Reject black culture. Put on your Christian identity and live life that way. And then evaluate life through that lens. Instead of seeing everything through a black, white, because if you evaluated things through a Christian lens, just through truth, you'd be like, yeah, that white dude got out over his skis, but he got street justice. How much more are we going to do to him? He got stomped out in the street by a half dozen people. One of the women that he was with got her brains beat out and got knocked unconscious and is still recovering. They got street justice. Now someone needs criminal justice, and we're going to give it to the people that didn't receive street justice, so now they're going to get criminal justice. This is easy. This is simple. This isn't racist. Because two guys push it and shove it in the street, police are like, I ain't got time for that. Someone got pushed in the face. I ain't got time for that. But when a woman, regardless of color, gets knocked out cold, and then when we have it on video, people jumping and kicking and stomping on a man's head, well, we have to apply some criminal justice here. The street justice went too far. This isn't hard to understand. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll bring Steve Kim into the Shedeur conversation because Shedeur is still number 4 on the depth chart. The Browns released their new depth chart. We'll start there with Steve Kim. Before I get out of here, though, I do want to remind you all to go to fearlessmission.com right now and get one of my Pay Fans Respect t-shirts. They're awesome. They're available right now at fearlessmission.com. You don't have to lay down and just continue to take the sports world telling you you have no value. We don't have to respect you. We don't have to care about you. Get one of our awesome t-shirts, Pay Fans Respect, at fearlessmission.com. On the back are the 10 fan commandments. If you're really not about that life and you don't want to do the smoke of having the fan commandments on the back of your shirt, we got the shirts that just say Pay Fans Respect. Would love you guys go to a sporting event wearing one of my t-shirts. I'll bring you on the show. Would love to. Go to fearlessmission.com, pick up one of our shirts. Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell. Next.
She did say at one point, the sexualization of women is used to hold women down. It's literally what has propped up the entire WNBA. Like your girl, Sophie Cunningham, who is a friend of mine, actually. We're friendly. Not as friendly as you two, I guess. But I'm saying,
This is a one-way love affair, but go ahead.
yeah. What is this runway that they have going on before every get? Like the sexualization of them is on every. It's actually what's propped women up. It's exactly the opposite of what she's saying.
Yeah, take it up, and that's Sophie and Lexi Hull entering the arena before getting their brains beat in last night in Phoenix. But take Angel Reese.
Yes.
The only part of her brand that isn't propped up by Caitlin Clark is her wearing booty shorts and taking pictures of herself in a very sexualized way. The problem is with their players.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Listen that I'm back just to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Time for some Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell. Steve, despite an amazing, unprecedented 380-yard, 6 TD performance in his first preseason game, Shedeur Sanders did not move up the depth chart. There's a tweet on Cleveland's second depth chart. Go back, brother. Let me read this. On Cleveland's second depth chart of the summer, here is how the Browns are listing their quarterbacks this week. Joe Flacco, number 1. Kenny Pickett, number 2. Dylan Gabriel, number 3. And Shedeur Sanders, number 4. Steve, this is a case, I'm sure, of clear, unadulterated racism. How could that man play that well against Carolina and not race up the depth chart? What happened here?
The disrespect. The disrespect is blatant, and I'm outraged. This is no way to treat a current Pro Football Hall of Famer. Okay? And looking at that depth chart, though, Jason, seriously, so Dylan Gabriel is still number 3. I'm going to make a prediction. I believe with certain Cleveland Browns fans, Dylan Gabriel is going to be the most hated quarterback since John Elway. I'm just telling you, I actually feel bad for Dylan Gabriel. He's just a guy who was probably overdrafted. I don't know if his game really translates to this level. He doesn't play. It is clear by the shots that they were showing in Carolina. Every time Shedeur did something good, they panned to the crowd. And I'd be like, wow, the Shedeur really does have a bit of a following, right? That fan base or that particular segment of it, they do not want Dylan Gabriel. And it's to a point they probably don't even want Deshaun Watson to even try to play football again. Jason, I'm going to say it again. It's the most fascinating story of August.
It is the most complicated and somewhat compelling story or why people have this love affair. And I asked this question yesterday and what makes Shedeur so special? And I guess it's they have instantly turned him into a victim in terms of not getting drafted in the first round grants him victim status, and anybody that's a victim, we think, oh, that's a victim. He joined the victim club. It's like joining the right fraternity in college. Oh, I'm Kappa Alpha Psi, I'm Omega Psi Phi, I'm whatever. I'm now part of this in group, and we all, there's a victimhood fraternity that once you get inducted into it, you get all these special benefits and privileges and support. And that, how they've made Shedeur a victim blows my mind. He's the son of a multimillionaire athlete who's been wearing designer clothes and fancy jewelry and driving Maybachs and all this for a long period of time. I just don't know how he's a victim.
Well, Jason, if you really look at it, so he's like the sports version of the gated community revolutionary. But I was thinking about this. Coming into that draft, he was given superstar status. He was a celebrity. First round, built his own little draft room, real fancy. But as he slid out of the first, that is where it started to change the narrative. And then as the second night of the draft ended, the end of round 3, and then you get into that third day, and there was also talk like, wow, is he getting drafted at all? It firmly became victimhood status. There's no doubt. And then he became a martyr. So that's really what it's become. I mean, if he was a first-round draft choice, let's say Mike Tomlin would have said, okay, we need a quarterback. I'm going to go young here. Tomlin would have been lionized. He would have been given status. But in a way, I know you may disagree with me. This whole situation and the way the scenario played out, it actually helped Shedeur. Because then if he fails, then you know what the storyline is. Well, he was set up to fail. He was never given a fair chance. So in a way, Jason, in a twisted way, you could argue this is kind of a win-win for Shedeur.
What do you think of Ryan Clark? There's a difference between being humble and getting humbled, and that, these people that tried to humble Shedeur are awful and terrible. I don't get it.
Every time I listen to a Ryan Clark soliloquy, it reminds me of one of the great satires of all time, Don't Be a Menace. Because after every one of his speeches, I just feel like blurting out, message! That's what I think, okay? Seriously, message. I don't think anyone was trying to humble him. I really don't. I just think there's a bunch of football teams that said individually, because think about it, they're all in the same league, but they're all competitors. It's a cutthroat business. They're trying to win games, and I think 32 teams, or maybe at least 31, said, not for us. Not our type of guy. He doesn't fit our culture. We don't think he's good enough, or we already have a good lineup of quarterbacks here. I don't think it was some sort of conspiracy. Now, speaking of another line, you're right. I think there was a line. I think it was this movie, Don't Be a Menace, where someone got shot, I think, right? And they had like a list. And the list was from the man. It was Malcolm. It was Martin. And then it was Omar Epps' character. And according to Ryan Clark, Shedeur Sanders is the latest guy on that list to get offed.
Steve, here's my problem, and it's why I started the show where I did. In terms of, as you get old and gray, like me and you, all we have left to offer is wisdom. And I don't see Ryan Clark and these guys imparting wisdom. There are things I did in my youth out of a lack of humility, and I immediately go to my Ball State football career. I was delusional. I had no humility. And from Paul Shedeur, our head coach, to Dave Magazoo, our offensive line coach, to Jeff Carpenter, our strength and conditioning coach, to, I could rattle off all these coaches, Mark Maurer, our offensive coordinator, Greg Meyer, they all tried to humble me, and I rejected it. And it was a mistake. It's one of the biggest mistakes. And I ended up having a successful career at Ball State, but I came nowhere near reaching my potential because I just thought, and mine wasn't even, it wasn't a racial thing with me in terms of my coaches. It was just more like, I was an idiot and I was full of myself, from, our high school football team was nationally ranked. Jeff George was our quarterback. I was a really, really good high school player, and I was an idiot and full of myself. And for 2 years, these guys tried to humble me. Some of it took in year 3, but it really wasn't until I got away 2 or 3, 4 years from Ball State that my eyes started coming open like, man, I did that all wrong. Man, I could have been a really, really great Ball State football player if I had just bought in and humbled myself. And then as I moved into my 40s, it really opened up my mind, and I got it. I don't understand why Ryan Clark and these guys aren't trying to pass on, impart wisdom to these young people.
Oh, it's simple. They can't. Because if they did, they'd get drugged. They would be tarred and feathered on social media. They would be branded as that word that rhymes with boon, loon, tune. You know which one it is, Jason. They call you that all the time. No, I'm being dead serious. And one of the tenets of victimhood is that you can never actually take accountability, and it's always someone else's fault. Yeah, one of my core tenet beliefs is that you individually and as a culture collectively, what you defend says a lot about you. That actually says, like, whoever you make into a hero or an idol, I believe that's actually something that goes in terms of, like, this is our belief system. This becomes our identity. And unfortunately, with certain groups of people that'll stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe crime is bad. Maybe we actually ought to, I don't know, stop it. Well, we're to a point now, and I'm looking at some of the conversations over what's going on in Washington, D.C. People are now basically, believe it or not, pro-crime. I think that's scary, but here's the other issue, though. I think that's scarier. There's no fixing it. As our guy Hawk Nation likes to say, there are no solutions.
Great segue into the final, and we'll move on to a different topic, but I love you bringing the Washington, D.C. thing in and how they're demonizing Trump for trying to make Washington, D.C. safe. And then I look over at Cincinnati, and a group of alleged black leaders rally at a church to demand that the white guy that received street justice got his brains beat in. Way too much street justice. He needs now criminal justice. He needs to be charged criminally, and this just isn't fair, and woe is me. I don't know how any man or woman could look at what happened to, I think her name's Holly, the white woman that got her brains beat in, and think, you know what? The two people that received street justice, way too much street justice, one of them needs to be charged. Just your thoughts on the Cincinnati press conference.
You know what law they broke, Jason, what they're really guilty of? Those two fine, unfortunate souls. Common sense. They should have known better than to go there. And they really should have, I'm just going to go all the way there. They should have known better than to engage in any type of conflict with them because there would be no resolution except for what happened. And here's the interesting part about this whole thing. You see on social media a lot of incidents taking place. To be honest, Jason, I don't see a lot of black versus white. I really don't. Most of it is black people fighting with other black people, whether it's on Spirit Airlines, whether it's in the middle of the projects, whether it's in a convenience store, whatever. So I have a question to those people that were making those proclamations yesterday. Is it only white people that should never engage with blacks? Because I think the message overall, if you go by percentage, should really be maybe blacks shouldn't deal with blacks either, based on the evidence I'm seeing on social media.
It's if you have any sort of biblical or righteous worldview, because the people that belong to the pro-black religion, that's totally detached from righteousness, that's totally detached from biblical principles. I don't blame people for wanting to avoid people totally detached from a biblical worldview or any sort of righteous, common sense, justice principles, Because literally that press conference to me was just like, they should have just came out and said, don't start none, won't be none. You know, that's how we operate. Don't start none, don't. If you start something, we gonna finish it, and it may take 10 of us, but we gonna. And I don't want to deal with anybody at that church wearing a suit, and I don't want to deal with anybody outside the Cincinnati Jazz Fest that operates that way.
Jason, I'm going to give a fearless PSA to our fine viewership. Okay, just like some unfettered advice to all the fine people out there, the law-abiding, safe citizens that we love. Don't ever go into a city or a place, or even come near an address or a zip code that has people called violence preventers or conflict resolution people. Because you know what? Generally, they don't stop or prevent violence or conflict. It's too late. And seriously, this goes for everybody. But if you're white, really, don't even go within the vicinity of those places. Nothing good can happen. That's, unfortunately, it's harsh, but Jason, it is the truth.
Steve, I'm going to move on. Texas is starting the season ranked number 1. And am I reading this properly? They're saying it's the first time in the history of the AP poll that Texas has started the season ranked number 1. I find that hard to believe. Texas allegedly has this great tradition and all this history, and it's never started the year ranked number 1 in the country. You know, are you surprised? Are they deserving of this lofty rating? Your thoughts on Texas opening the college football season ranked number 1?
Jason, I was actually surprised to hear that. But look, even during the Vince Young era when they won it, they were right in the thick of the USC dynasty, and the USC was number 1 even in 2005. I think that whole year up until that legendary Rose Bowl. And I guess some of the Darryl Royal teams were probably top 5, but never really number 1. You talk to people that are really historians, and they'll tell you that Texas, for a good of tradition as they have had, they haven't won that many national titles in the last, 50 years. They really haven't. And if you take away Vince Young's miracle comeback against SC, they probably haven't had one since Darryl Royal, which in the late 60s. So that is a pretty significant drought. In my view, I think 2 or 3 teams really stand out in terms of what they bring back. Texas is one of them. Penn State, I know it's James Franklin, but I actually like their core base. And the team that I think would be my personal number 1, given who they have back at quarterback that is proven, is Cade Klubnik and Clemson. So I don't really have much of a debate about it. I think those are clearly the top 3 teams coming into this season.
Clemson coming in at number 4 for someone like me that doesn't study it the way that I used to. It kind of surprises me because I thought the narrative on Clemson was that Dabo has avoided the transfer portal and won't play that game, and that the program has backed up. But you like Clemson this year. Is he dabbling more in the transfer portal?
Yeah. Just a couple things, Jason. If you look at Clemson's roster, they have a quarterback in Cade Klubnik that many people think could be in the Heisman race. They have their best set of receivers since about 2019 when they ripped Bama. So that's really a 2018 season. Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, Moore, those guys are all future NFLers. What they really have is an unbelievable defensive line. Parker and Woods. And if you look at the trademark of the Clemson run when they were battling Bama for college football supremacy, they had incredible quarterback play, they had unbelievable wide receiver play, and they were stout up front defensively. And that's what they have. And they have a first-round cornerback in Avion Terrell, 2 really good linebackers in Wade Woodaz and Sammy Brown. This team is loaded. And Jason, yes, Dabo Swinney is actually using the portal. He brought in about 3 or 4 guys. One of them is going to be a starter in Will Helt out of Purdue, who's a very productive player. So he's not going all in, but he is dabbling. And keep this in mind about Clemson. Even though they have faded from their lofty status for about, 4 years, they never won less than 9 games, Jason. It's not like they became a 500 program here. And they did make the playoffs last year, and they gave Texas a pretty tough game on the road. So, like Mark Twain, I think the rumors of their demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Steve, Colin Cowherd made an interesting analogy about Jalen Hurts. And it's a clever one. Colin knows exactly what he's doing. He could have compared him to some male pop star, but instead went with Spice Girls. Anyway, let's play Colin Cowherd talking about Jalen Hurts.
The Eagles had a bye week. Remember when Tom Brady went to Bruce Arians? They were 7-5, and they had a bye week. You can break down your offense in that bye week and kind of make a major – it's hard to get off the treadmill week to week to week. But when you get that bye week and you get 3 or 4 extra practices, Tom Brady goes to Bruce Arians and says, we're going to change up the offense. Last year in the bye week, the people who know him best said, we'd be better off throwing less. That's a tell. So some quarterbacks in this league are Taylor Swift. They're leading the entire tour. Most quarterbacks in this league are the Spice Girls. They're part of an ensemble. Jalen is part of an ensemble.
I get what Cowherd is saying. It's clever. It's designed to trigger. It's worked. I don't think it's fair. I would have gone more, and I think you can get this, where I think of Jalen former, but doesn't, to me, have the greatest voice. But he put out a gang of hits. People loved him. He could fill up small venues at the drop of a hat. Very successful. No one would ever disrespect Keith Sweat in his career. So Cowherd is speaking truth here, but he didn't have to go Spice Girls. He could have gone Keith Sweat.
All right. I don't think our guy Posh Hurts begs nearly as much to warrant a Keith Sweat comparison. Now, Spice Girls, that is disrespectful. If you're going to go with an ensemble group, here's one. He is Ronnie Bell or Michael Bivins from New Edition.
Oh, no. No.
May not be Ralph Tresvant. Certainly not Bobby Brown. May not even be Johnny Gill. But he's part of New Edition. Come on.
First of all, Johnny Gill's the most talented guy in that whole collection you just mentioned.
More than Bobby.
But you can't. Bell.
More than Bobby. No.
Yes.
Johnny Gill's got 2 left feet. He can't. He could. They had to dumb down their dance routines for him. Seriously. So that stereotype is not true. Johnny Gill actually had to learn how to do the running man in the Cabbage Patch when he joined New Edition. That's a true story, by the way.
Is Shamika listening? We may have to try to hop her in on this conversation. If Shamika's listening, hop on the Zoom, and you may have to come in with a ruling here. But listen, man, I love BBD, Belle Biv DeVoe, but Michael Bivins and Belle Biv DeVoe and Ronnie DeVoe, Michael Bivins and Ronnie DeVoe, they're not lead singers. They're not starting quarterbacks, and I love them. And their Poison and all that, their albums, tremendous. Keith Sweat. Jalen Hurts can fill up venues by himself. Jalen Hurts. That's why I go with the Keith Sweat.
Well, wait a minute.
Make It Last Forever. Right the Wrong Way is an unforgettable song. Jalen Hurts, I think he's right in there with a Keith Sweat. I think you diminish him.
I'm just telling you, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I will give Jalen Hurts credit. He helps that run game because of the +1 capability, and he's tough. Look, everyone thinks the tush push is just an easy play. No one does it to the effectiveness they do. Also, his ability to pull the ball and be physical in the run game and throw his head into a pile, it helps out Saquon Barkley. Okay? I don't actually think Jalen Hurts is a top 3 or 4 quarterback, but when I see top 10 lists without him, that is about as disrespectful as calling him posh. I don't know the other Spice Girls, but come on. And if you're going to compare him to a group, can we at least make it New Edition, or can we make it the Boys? Or who the other one? ABC. Make it Chris Cross. Come on, the Spice Girls. That's disrespectful. My God. Another bad
got one
creation.
for you.
ABC. That's them. I forgot those little guys. They only had one good song.
Another bad. And I may be going too far here, but maybe Drew Hill would have been a good comparison. But I think Drew Hill's got some classic hits.
I got one. One of my personal favorites, and I play them all the time during my workouts. Billy Ocean. Billy O. Billy O. Not given all the credit, but solid. He's a winner. Platinum, gold, good movie soundtracks, iconic songs, Caribbean Girl. Maybe Jalen Hurts is Billy Ocean. Nah.
All right. Can't get Shamika on right now, but get Shamika ready. When I let go of Steve, we do have Shamika? Yeah. Could we bring Shamika up? Do we have a ruling here? And I know you're not a Jalen Hurts expert, but am I going too far comparing him to Keith Sweat? I just thought, How Deep Is Your Love is another classic song. But I wouldn't put Keith Sweat on my all-time greats, but I certainly enjoy Keith Sweat. Your thoughts?
So you're saying that he can stand alone? Is that what the argument is? Jalen Hurts? Yeah, because Keith Sweat can stand alone. We understand that Bell Biv DeVoe, Bivens.
Michael Bivens, Ronnie DeVoe.
Yeah. Michael Bivens nor Ronnie DeVoe could ever stand alone. They actually need each other, and they need Ricky Bell. So if that's the question, then Keith Sweat is a better comparison because they can't stand alone without Ricky Bell. I would go to a Bell Biv DeVoe, but I prefer all of New Edition.
Steve?
Keep
You
this
gotta
in
defer
mind.
to the expert
what
here.
Colin Cowherd said was he's part of an ensemble. Well, the ensemble for me is New Edition. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Right?
I wouldn't listen. Let's think this through, Steve.
Yeah.
He had a good run at Alabama, then went to Oklahoma and had a great run.
Yes, he did.
And as a leader, he's having a great run in Philadelphia. He represents the franchise. I think putting him into an ensemble is wrong. He's a rock solid, standalone solo artist. Is he Michael Jackson? Is he R. Kelly? Is he Johnny Gill or Bobby Brown? No.
Billy Ocean.
But he's put
Billy
out
Ocean.
a bunch of hits. And some of them he put out hits in college, hits in the NFL. I stand
I'm
very.
just saying, again, if you're going to compare him to a group, don't do Spice Girls. That's an insult to any quarterback. So what I'm saying is that if it's going to be a solo artist, I think it's Billy Ocean. Because when the going gets tough, Hurts gets going.
Thank you, Shamika. I'll see you later on the Harmony. You got anything else to say on this, or I appreciate you being ready in a pinch.
Yeah, I heard something comparing Bobby Brown and Johnny Gill, and I'm gonna go with Bobby Brown over Johnny Gill. Johnny can sing better, but Bobby was the better entertainer. So I don't know what that was about, but Bobby was definitely the better entertainer.
Oh, you tell him. You tell him, Shamika. See, you knew. See, Jason's not down. Jason's not down. But Shamika, you're the expert here. I'm glad you got brought in. Good job.
Slip on that red dress. Bobby Brown has nothing that compares to that. Nothing.
Okay.
What? All
And
day,
I love Tenderoni.
night.
I love Tenderoni. But as an adult, you can play Johnny Gill in any situation.
Well, that Johnny Gill song in New
to me-
Orleans would have been great the last day or two. But
True.
let me just say this: the Don't Be Cruel album of Bobby Brown. Everyone knows the hits. The side
great
B
album.
may be the most complete album I've ever heard. I'll
It's
die
a
on
great
that
album.
hill.
But
Yes.
Yeah.
here's where, there's My, of course, but also even in Can You Stay in the Rain, that's an ensemble song, but Johnny Gill was clearly the superstar of that song. Right or wrong?
I don't disagree.
He was, but we needed Ralph on that song to make it complete.
I'm done. Johnny Gill is on a different level than Bobby Brown, and I love Bobby Brown. But anyway, we got to go. I've gone too long here. Steve, final thought here. UFC, Dana White was on Pat McAfee's show, and they ended up referencing a UFC event potentially at the White House. Play the clip.
Can you tell me a little bit more information on the White House? Because that's going to be on Paramount Plus.
That might be on CBS. You know what I mean? Think about that.
Yeah.
Fight card from the White House, live and free on CBS, the network. Come on.
Hold on now.
Huge.
That could be like biggest numbers of all time, which I assume is what you're dreaming of here.
Steve, UFC at the White House, I don't like it. That sport is too brutal to be at the White House. I'm anti this. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, in terms of the overall concept, all I got to say is, but to your point, I don't necessarily completely disagree with that. But Jason, can we be factual about this? As much as that sport is bloody and it is violent, it still would not be a bigger freak show than some of the stuff that Biden brought onto the White House lawn. So for all those people that are absolutely outraged by this and talking about the sanctity of the White House and the office and how could he, I would rather have that in the octagon than that freak show that they brought on regularly. That's what I think.
If we're going down the what about Favre lane is what you're doing, well, what about Joe Biden and what they did? I agree with you. UFC far more
By the way, for the
appropriate
record,
than a lot
I'm not
of.
a fan of it overall, though. I'm not. I actually don't think it's a great look. But I think there's a hypocrisy from certain people when they talk about, oh, my God, where's the respect? Where's the decorum? You're right. You're right. And that went out the window during the previous administration. Maybe, unfortunately, there are no standards anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve, I'm getting back on schedule. Thank you so much. Great job, as always. We'll see you tomorrow. It's almost my favorite time of the show. Time to talk a little WNBA with Ak Nation and Frank. You guys remember Frank from last week. I think Ak Nation was on the week before that. I got some Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever conversation I want to get off my chest. We'll do that next. They're all falling under the spell of Deion Sanders, who wants to make excuses for his boy. And that's what this is coming from. These guys on the phone with Deion, or Deion text messaging them, yeah, he's being set up. This is all about lowering the bar for Shedeur. If he plays poorly, Stephen A. and everybody gets to go on, well, what did you expect? He didn't get any first team reps. Are you kidding me? TJ, and don't spend long on this, but I mean, TJ, you were an undrafted person into the NFL. Would there ever have been a thought, hey, you get to go play with the first team and you haven't all training camp, Tom Brady's gonna be throwing you the ball tonight. Is it, oh, that's unfair. Are you being set up for failure, or are you being given an opportunity?
Greatest opportunity in the world.
What are we talking about?
As the WNBA turns, starring Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson. Brought to you by George Soros, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, and the Global Elite.
All right, welcome back. Time for my favorite part of the show. As the WNBA turns, the Indiana Fever in action tonight against the Dallas Wings. Caitlin Clark has been updated to day. She's not playing tonight, but I do think she'll be returning very, very soon. And Indiana Fever right now, 18-14. I believe they have the number 5 slot in the WNBA playoff seeding at the moment. And again, I'm a Caitlin Clark groupie. I'm an Indiana Fever groupie. But I actually think the ceiling for the Indiana Fever is the WNBA Finals. I don't think they could beat the Minnesota Lynx if that's who they were to face in the WNBA Finals. But I do think they could reach the WNBA Finals. I think they could be I think the New York Liberty would be very, very tough for them, particularly if Breanna Stewart's healthy, Jonquel Jones is healthy, and just the New York Liberty, tough matchup for them. But we've seen the Indiana Fever beat that team without Jonquel Jones. But the Minnesota Lynx, I think, particularly after picking up Dejanay Carrington, I don't think the Indiana Fever can beat them. So I see the Fever ceiling as reaching the WNBA Finals, putting up a decent fight, maybe winning a couple of games in a series against the Minnesota Lynx. But that's a pretty good ceiling, particularly given all the injuries they had this year. And I actually think and I don't mean this as hyper negative towards Ari McDonald. I'm not backing off the apology and the respect that I showed Ari McDonald earlier this week, late last week. But I actually think Ari McDonald being out of the rotation and out of Stephanie White's hands is actually going to be a blessing for the Indiana Fever. Part of the issue Ari McDonald, a defensive liability, and Ari McDonald, a slave to Stephanie White. I just think there was going to be Stephanie White fell in love with Ari McDonald, and I think they were going to be too reliant on her. I think Odyssey Sims, who they just picked up to basically replace Ari McDonald, a better fit, and the team now will understand and lean more into Caitlin Clark in an appropriate way. I actually love the resiliency and where the team is right now, and I believe we're just a game or two away from Caitlin Clark returning. So I could see this Fever team reaching the WNBA Finals. Can't see them beating the Minnesota Lynx. To discuss this with me, Ock Nation, welcome back to the show, and Frank, welcome back to the show. Frank, for some reason, I struggle with DePope be Frank, so I'm just going to call you Frank. Frank, your last name is actually DePope, so if I just called you Frank DePope, that's easy for me. Frank DePope be Frank, that's difficult for me for some reason. Before we get started, Frank, the first thing I want to clear the air on, though, is one of the reasons I have Ock back on the show is because we talked off air, and he's going to issue an apology for saying negative things about Kelsey Mitchell. As he has said on his own channel, he said some negative things about Kelsey Mitchell on this show. And so, Ock, the floor is yours. Go ahead and apologize to Kelsey Mitchell.
Okay. I apologize not only to Kelsey Mitchell, but her twin sister who bashed Caitlin Clark online. I apologize to both of them.
Thank you. Because one of the things that because I'm trying to school Ock on basketball. I respect your basketball intellect a little bit more, but Ock loves to argue like that Kelsey Mitchell is somehow limited, that all she can do is fire up shots and blah, blah, blah. They had to play Kelsey Mitchell at the point guard in their last game, and just as I expected, she handled it well, led the team in scoring, led the team in points. Kelsey Mitchell is the leading scorer, has the most points in the WNBA this season, and Ock seems to have a problem with her because I don't think he understands her role on this team. Ock, I'm sorry for spending this much time on Kelsey Mitchell, but I had to start here, and then I'm going to get to a second apology I want from Ock as well. But anyway, Ock, I'm going to let you respond to my take on Kelsey Mitchell, that you have her in a box she doesn't belong in. She's a great player. She can get a bucket. She's a selfless player. I think she's a great teammate for Caitlin Clark.
Well, Jason, I'm glad you brought up Kelsey Mitchell, because Kelsey Mitchell, she's basically the oldest Fever. She's the only Fever that's here from like the the Fever passed. Aaliyah got here a year before Lexi, a year before that. Kelsey is the Fever. She is the essence of the Fever. So in 2018, when she first joined the team, they won 6 games. 2019, they won 13 games. 2020, they won 6 games. 2021, they won 6 games. 2022, they won 5 games. Aaliyah comes in 2023, they win 13. Caitlin comes in 2024, they win 20. And this year, you got Aaliyah and Caitlin, and now they're in good shape. So with Kelsey running the team by herself, having, her and a cast of others, they won 6 or less games 4 times. So that's kind of what I'm basing my thing on, not just the fact that she's a ball hog a lot of times, and she never passes to Caitlin, but the fact that they won 6 or less games 4 times, and had the worst record in all of professional sports when she was there before Aaliyah and Caitlin got there.
Yeah, she didn't have great teammates, and the team struggled. What a shock. Frank,
Jason,
you got an opinion on Kelsey Mitchell?
Jason, she had 6 or less wins. 6 or less wins. That's not bad. That's dreadful. Go ahead, Pope.
Man, shout out to you. Shout out to Jason. You see, I did my Shedeur watch. I had to pull it up.
Yeah.
I can't stand Shedeur. No, I'm with you. Listen, I can't stand. I call them Dion crime time scammers. That's the. But neither here nor there. That's another episode. But Kelsey Pistol Mitchell. I love her shooting, Jason. When she's on the court with Caitlin Clark, she gets the spot up. She's dangerous when she's spotting up, and Caitlin Clark is taking all the attention, and they happen to just leave Kelsey Pistol Mitchell open by herself, and she gets hit. She's dangerous. She's dangerous slashing to the basket, and Caitlin has that connection with her when she's slashing backdoor, and she's so fast, right? It's great for the open court with Caitlin Clark. Without Caitlin Clark, she's hard to watch. She's hard to watch. She's one speed, Jason. She only knows one speed. It's like she's Russell Westbrook-ish when it comes to her basketball IQ. She doesn't know when to slow down. She doesn't know how to get her teammates involved for real. And so, like, she's 5'0", Jason, right? I see her at times. She has the mid-range. Her mid-range game is nice. Her long-range game is nice. But for some reason, Kelsey Mitchell want to drive into with all the trees and try to throw up something with all the tall trees, and she 5'0". It makes no sense. It's very silly. And if I was a coach, I'd say, hey, listen, knock that off. You're killing the team. Like, you're forcing buckets. You're forcing. Yes, you have all the skill. You got handles, ball on the string. That's fine. You got a nice jumper. But your basketball IQ is limited.
Completely disagree with that take. I'm shocked by that take, Frank. Kelsey Mitchell does what she's asked to do. Hey, go hunt buckets. You're our shooting guard. We got Caitlin Clark, a great playmaker. We got pieces around you. We got Aaliyah Boston in the post. Go hunt buckets. They asked her the other night, hey, run the point. And they should have done that when Caitlin Clark first got injured. That's what they should have done. Hey, Kelsey, we need you to run some point. Sophie's going to run some point as well. We're not going to try to lean into Ari McDonald as if she's some starting point guard for this team. Kelsey Mitchell does what she's asked to do. When she was asked to play the point the other night, she played the point, got her teammates involved, was efficient scorer. You guys are acting like she can't compete without Caitlin. She's got the most points in the league this year, and Caitlin Clark has sat out about half the games. And in a few of the games that she did play, she was on limited minutes. Do I think Kelsey Mitchell is on the same level as Caitlin Clark? No, I don't. But Kelsey Mitchell, to me, is like Joe Dumars. You're not winning championships without him with the Indiana Fever. Ak, what are you laughing about?
Joe Dumars, he's Kobe Bryant in Utah. In that first playoff series in Utah. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. You just said something. You just said that we act like Kelsey's nothing without Caitlin. Indiana Fever have 18 wins right now. Imagine if they lost 12 of those 18 wins and they only had 6 wins, which is what they routinely got when Kelsey was there before Aaliyah. Could you imagine if this team lost 12 of the games that they won this year and only had 6 wins right now? It would be a crisis. That's what Kelsey Mitchell put Indiana Fever fans through for half a decade. You weren't an Indiana Fever fan then, so you don't know.
No, I wasn't. But let me tell you what you just argued. If my auntie had a pair of balls, she would be my uncle. Well, your auntie doesn't have a pair of balls, so she's not her uncle. I don't have to imagine the Fever with 12 less losses.
You know what I'm arguing? That your auntie's husband ran off, and your auntie still got to hold the house down. She still got to wake the kids up in the morning. She still got to feed them. She still got to cook dinner. She still got to take them to practice. That's what I'm arguing.
I'm going to move on, and Ak, I want you to. And again, I could go at this all day with you, Ak. But and Frank, I didn't know you were as silly as Ak, but now I know.
Hey.
The ceiling for the Indiana Fever. I think they can still make a run to the WNBA Finals. Ak, you first. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think that, they could make it. They could make a run, maybe not to the finals, but they could win a playoff series or two without Caitlin Clark. This league, depending on who they play, this league has one dominant team. The New York Liberty are dreadful without Breanna Stewart. They're literally just a regular WNBA team. So you got the Minnesota Lynx and you got everybody else. Atlanta Dream, we don't fear them. We played the Atlanta Dream so many times. I don't think any Fever fan fears the Atlanta Dream. So then you got Atlanta, you got Seattle Storm. No Fever fan fears the Seattle Storm. No Fever fan fears the Mercury if we have 11 players. They could make a run without Caitlin Clark, but to win a championship, to push them over the edge, they would need Caitlin Clark.
Well, Caitlin Clark is coming back any game now. And I think in the next 2 to 3 games, she'll be back on the court. I'm assuming with Caitlin Clark on the court is why I'm saying they could reach the WNBA Finals. I'm not sure if they can win a playoff series based on matchups without Caitlin Clark. If they happen to run into Phoenix early in a playoff series or in the first round without Caitlin Clark, it's curtains. They're not winning
Seattle?
that series with.
What if they run into Seattle?
I'm not sure. Up in the air. Up in the
Yeah,
air.
they could.
Without
I'm just saying they could.
7-game series are completely different than facing someone in a one-off or facing someone twice in 3 weeks. 7-game series are different. I think the Fever would struggle in a 7-game series without Caitlin Clark with virtually anybody they would see in the playoffs. Frank, what do you see as the Fever ceiling? And I'm assuming Caitlin Clark comes back healthy.
To the championship game, to that 7-game series, the finals. I believe they'll make it to the finals. And the rest, they'll do better when she comes back, especially with all the civil lawsuits and all the eyes watching them about the sabotaging of Caitlin Clark. And so I believe they'll call it fairly until that game, until the final series. Then that's, they have their millions of viewers, right? They probably have record-breaking numbers, viewership-wise, attendance-wise, and everything else that comes along with it. And just like how they robbed Minnesota Lynx last year and handed Breanna Stewart and New York Liberty. They made it an interesting series, right? Back and forth. I believe it went to Game 7, and then they handed Liberty. Okay, that's enough now. Thank you, guys. Here, Liberty, you're the ones. So I think they may possibly do the same thing for Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever. Business-wise, it makes sense. And, hey, she's been out all of this long time. You give her a nice playoff run, right? We'll make a lot of money off of that and so on and so forth. Because I believe this league is about to close out and lock out and never return. So this will be the last hurrah.
You think the league is going to have a holdout and never return?
Never
With
return.
all
They set
this
it up
money
back-
they can make off Caitlin Clark.
Yes, because look, you a businessman, Jason. You know business. If I'm the owners of the WNBA, right, and I got one person that moves the needle. Nobody else. Everybody's regular degulars besides Caitlin Clark. I can't run a business model off of that, because if anything happens, God forbid, life, not even just injuries, just life. Life ain't promised tomorrow. So I can't run no business model off of one player for an entire league. So it will behoove them in their best interest to knock her at every turn like they doing, because nobody else. Look, for example, now she's here. These women are delusional and got T-shirts that say, "Pay us what you owe us." They think we owe them something because Caitlin Clark made numbers go up, right? So they looking at that too, like these women are delusional. We dealing with. And Caitlin Clark is one person. She's one player. If something, Lord forbids, happens to her, you have to take that into consideration, because life not promised tomorrow. So if Lord forbid something happens to her and we don't have her no more, now we paying all of these 100 and 200 women all this extra money and giving them all these extra things that they don't deserve. And so it doesn't make sense to push Caitlin Clark out there like that. And I believe that's why they allowed Breonna Stewart and Nafessa Collier last year to solicit, while they was on a job, the Unrivaled League. How can you solicit a professional women's basketball league while playing for my professional basketball league? So when I seen that, I said, whoa, something going on. They must be about to do away with the WNBA. And I believe before Caitlin Clark ever came to them in 2020, it was talks of them doing away with this league. And COVID happened, and they just used it for Black Lives Matter and all that propaganda. And then Caitlin Clark came around. And so I think they've been trying to get from underneath the WNBA, and they pushed Unrivaled. They helped whoever helped, from Gino Arama to Ashton Kutcher to Carmelo Anthony to Steve Nash. They all put money in Unrivaled. And I believe that's the new wave that they want to go with. And they can leave the WNBA behind and don't get no backlash for not coming back around. But the only monkey wrench, one more thing, I'm gonna let it play. The biggest monkey wrench that happened to him was Caitlin Clark. She didn't sign with him like they thought she would have. And I think that's why they giving her hell in the WNBA, because she won't sign up to Unrivaled. And what's gonna happen is Unrivaled gonna go down the drain just like the WNBA did.
I got some bad news to break to you. You had the crown for the worst take in the history of this show. You had the crown. When you came on this show and argued that Angel Reese was better than Aaliyah Boston, I thought that's the worst take that would ever be heard on this show. Frank has taken that crown from you. Frank! They got expansion. People are paying $300 million for franchises. They got a new TV deal. You can't wrap up this league with all this money on the line. Frank, you got a 28-year history of them being comfortable losing $20, $30, $40 million every single year and keeping the league going. And you think they're about to close up shop?
Yeah, the
before
IRS said we
receiving
done playing
payback
y'all
and
games,
benefit?
man. All right, the tax, they say, listen, man, we done let y'all slide for 30 years, man, get that money off the back end of us. We tired of y'all. Listen, y'all got to figure out something else sooner or later for the IRS come down on your butts, okay? And so listen, Jason, it just, the whole expansion, to me, that's all hoax. It's all like, y'all know y'all not expanding. Y'all know y'all not going up. Y'all not doing none of this. These women are about to lock y'all out. They think they want 7-figure deals. They want half the revenue share like men. They don't bring in a penny. Literally, they don't bring in a penny. So they know what they're asking for is not going to get met. That the WNBA is not going to bite that hand. Like, no, just because we got new good numbers and Caitlin Clark. Because I'm sure when they get in negotiation office, they say, look, this side right here, This is Caitlin Clark games and her numbers in attendance. This side over here, this is you guys. Terrible twos. Get out of our office.
Frank, I got to go. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond to Frank's taking your title. Hand over the crown. It's like giving the green jacket. In the Masters, you know, they bring out the former champ and he puts the green jacket on the current champ. You no longer have the worst take in the history of YouTube. Frank does. Ak, if you want to congratulate Frank or whatever, but do it quickly because I got to go.
Congratulations, Frank, man. No way in hell this league goes away, man. Listen, if they disbanded this league, someone would make a new league just so Caitlin Clark can have people to play against on TV.
I don't know where you're broadcasting from, your garage or whatever, but
Dungeon.
I'm gonna have the dungeon. I'm gonna have John Hadley reach out to you because I enjoy having you on the show, and we're gonna try to upgrade whatever it is you're doing so you're a little bit clear. Frank, just like we had Ak back when he wore the title, we'll have you back now that you own the title. A bad take is a great way to stay relevant on this show. People have things to react to. Congratulations to both of you, the former champ and the current champ. Frank kind of knocked you out the way Ali knocked out Sonny Liston. You got to get back in the lab, Ak. You'll come up with another silly, stupid take, I'm sure. It's easy for you. It's what you do. Anyway, we can't hear you at all, Ak. We're going to send you some help because I like having you on the show. Thank you, guys. We'll play tomorrow. I'm hopping over to the Harmony channel. Hopefully in 5 minutes I'll be there because now I'm behind schedule again. Hopefully we'll be on the Harmony channel in 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the longest, talking about Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. We'll see you next time here on Fearless.
Coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be.